Okay.
Okay, zip it.
All right, Bobby, if I go like this, catch Terry.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Is it rolling?
It's been rolling for a while. I gotta catch on this. You guys start when you're ready.
Okay.
Today is Sunday, April 29th. We're about to interview my lovely grandparents who will be married for 63 years in a month from today. So let's go ahead and get started. Are you guys excited for this?
Oh, we're very excited.
Me too.
Great. So
Okay, we're gonna roll the camera now.
Yeah, we'll start with an easy one. What is your full name?
Okay. My full name is Martin Austin Green. You got that, Austin? That's class.
And my full name is Muriel Isabella Delucia Harry Van Pap Green.
Now, if you could explain that one a little bit, we need some clarification with that middle name.
Well, my mother always said that I needed to take the names of my sponsors, so that was it. But on my birth certificate, it just says Muriel Pap. Now I'm Muriel Green.
I was born in Malta Bend, Missouri, down close to the Missouri River. Marshall, Missouri was the only town of any size close by. Malta Bend had 2 or 3 houses and that was it.
And I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was a big city for that time.
While I was going to school in Oklahoma City, I was in Irving School. And it was a rough little school. So they wanted to start Kiwanis Junior Police in the school. So they elected me as captain of the Kiwanis Junior Police. And the only reason I can figure it out was if some kid was going to get beat up, it was going to be me. But that didn't happen, and I got a lot of recognition from the state of Oklahoma. In fact, I think some of the grandkids have seen some of the citations I got. Everybody's speechless.
Well,
I knew I would throw a powerful spell on everybody.
I didn't have a very good childhood. My mother and father were divorced at, I guess I was probably in the 1st grade, and it was just a real hard childhood until my mother remarried, and then we moved to Kirksville from Milwaukee. I was in the 2nd grade, and we lived in Kirksville for a while, and then my stepfather had a piece of ground in a little town called Sublette. So he built a house, and he had a filling station where he worked on cars, and my older sister Carol and I would walk to school about a mile and a half. And back in those days, you hitchhiked even at a young age. You just walk along the highway and somebody'd stop and give you a ride. And it's just so different now. But we went to a little school where the teacher taught all 8 grades, and it was a happy school. But when it was snowing and bad, I didn't much like to go to school, so I'd have a headache. And my older sister would she was always the smart one, and when it was snowing real bad, she would just have me put a bandana over my face, so I just hold her hand and she'd walk with me to school. And when I was, after I graduated from the 8th grade, in order to go to high school, I went to live with a couple I had never seen before in California. Her mother and dad lived in Kirksville, and a friend of ours thought it'd be a good idea for them to take me in. So I rode out to California with this lady and her friend I'd never seen before. And when we got to California, they had a nice home, but my bedroom was kind of like their studio. I had to pull out a couch every night to make my bed, and they were good to me, but it was kind of difficult to be in California, not knowing anybody. I never saw a kid my age until I started my freshman year of high school. But when I went to high school, it was a brand new high school, and the kids were all pretty welcoming. And I lived there for a year, and then the people I was living with, Irene and Gunther, her dad got real sick and she was going back to Kirksville. So I had to hurry up and finish my freshman year of high school by taking extra classes, so I wouldn't have to take the freshman class over again, and I made all A's in everything. And when I moved back to Kirksville, I went to live with a couple named Irene and Tessie. And they had a photo shop and a beauty shop. And my older sister and I shared a bedroom, and we would get up and have to do a lot of housework before we could go to school. And we were tardy so many days that we couldn't just say we had to work. We were embarrassed to say that. We'd always say we overslept, and because we had to walk quite a ways to high school, and there was a lot of tardiness on my part. I never really excelled in anything. I just kind of went around with the group. And I did go into a sorority in my sophomore year, and that was real fun to be with a group of girls and get together for overnights and everything. And so I would say that Pauline and Tessie, even though we had to work pretty hard, we even went out on carnivals. They had a photo shop and a penny pitch stand, and we would go out to different carnivals and work, and it was kind of fun to do all that stuff, but yet it was pretty hard work. So that was, I guess, in my senior year is when I met Marty. My older sister and I went to a dance every Saturday night. When we'd get off work, we would hurry up and get down to the armory. It was a square dance and a round dance, and we'd go every Saturday night. And this Saturday night in particular, there stood Marty Green and his cousin Bill Green. And my sister and I kind of flirted with him, and we started dancing, and that's how we met. And then back in those days, why, you just kind of, if they asked to take us home from the dance, and we were together, so we went with them, and we made a date for the next day, and they were just home on leave. They're both in the Air Force. And so we started out when he was on leave for just a weekend. And you didn't have telephones back then, so you would write letters. And that's kind of how we communicated, with letters, until we could see each other again when he'd come home on leave.
What was it about Grandma that made you realize she was the one?
I guess her ability to meet people and discuss anything they wanted to discuss. She could be right in there talking to them. Plus, she was a good cook. She could cook tomato soup and dumplings like you wouldn't believe.
That's what did it for you, huh?
Yeah, after we ate them for about a year, then she did good with her cooking.
Grandma, what did you find charming about Grandpa?
I just thought he was handsome, tall. I was always looking for somebody tall, because I was very tall for girls my age. And I liked the way we danced together, and the way he was so loving and caring. And he was just really the only man I ever really loved. And we've had a great life.
When you realized you wanted to stay with Grandma forever, how did you propose to her?
We had a big lake. We had a big lake, and it was a beautiful setting. So I just drove out to this lake, and it was really kind of a sparking spot for kids to park with their girlfriends, and we might have even smooched around a little bit. But we had a big moon, and I had it wrapped up, and I had given it to her to open, and boy, she got so excited that I thought she was going to wet her pants. But
that's not true.
But that was a famous spot for everybody to go. So that was just the only time I think that we went there, because we was always home just for a weekend or something. And she was happy. I was happy. So we did good.
When you gave me the ring, it was 5 months after that before we got married, because you were in the service. We got married over Memorial Day, and we had to borrow it. He didn't have a car, and I didn't either. I didn't even know how to drive. We borrowed his brother's car, and we went to the Lake of the Ozarks for a couple days. That was our honeymoon. And then we went back and stayed at his mom and dad's for about a week, and then he had to go back to Barksdale Air Force Base. That's where he was stationed. So he was going to get sent over to England, and his mom and dad thought I ought to be able to go see him before he left. So they drove me to Louisiana to see Marty before he shipped out. And Marty was telling us about this guy that was at the Louisiana hayride that everybody really liked. Did we want to go? He'd get us tickets. So that was a big deal to buy 4 tickets to go to the Louisiana hayride, and it was Elvis Presley. And his mom and I just had such a good time listening to Elvis Presley. We'd never heard of him before, but his father turned his head and would not look at him because he didn't like his Jardin moves that they used to call him, and he thought he was terrible.
We got married, and she didn't see much of me for quite some time after that. So she was about to give up on the married life, but she did great, accepting all that and trying to keep up with the letter writing. There was a lot of that.
I lived in Kirksville, and his folks lived in La Plata. And Marty was sent over to England, and I didn't know how to drive. We didn't have a car. So on my own, I had Pauline and Tessie, the people we lived with. Their son was a car dealer, and he brought me a little red and black Plymouth, and he was going to give me a good deal buying it, but I didn't know how to drive it. So his dad took it home, and on weekends he would bring it to Kirksville, and he taught me how to drive. And when Marty got the letter that I had bought a car without his approval, I don't think he was very happy about it.
And that was while she was waiting to come to Louisiana to live with me. And finally it happened. She made it to Barksdale Air Force Base.
And we put everything we owned in that little red and black Plymouth and headed for Shreveport, Louisiana, to find an apartment we could afford, because neither one of us had any money, a little dab to put down, and we got a 3-room apartment up over, what'd you call it?
Vulcanizing. Tire vulcanizing. If you've ever been around vulcanizing, it really stinks.
And we didn't have much of anything.
We got everything taken care of that we could take care of with limited amount of money. We did splurge and buy an old-time washing machine. I can't remember what we paid for it.
$10.
$10 we paid for it.
It was a Ringer washer.
And we was happy to have it.
The girls that I worked with gave me a towel shower, and I made curtains for the windows with towels so that nobody could see in the windows. And back then you got orange crates. Those were our end tables, and we didn't have much of anything, but we were happy we were finally together.
Spent 4 years doing a lot of different things in the Air Force, but mainly I was in a bomber outfit, and we had a lot of different assignments, training missions and stuff. I wasn't I wasn't part of the flight crew. We just had 3 guys on an airplane that was the flight crew. I had a navigator and a pilot and co-pilot. But I was crew chief part of that time, and I'd get to fly with them, but they just had a little step inside the cockpit that I could sit on. The steps, all they gave us. I was lucky and got a lot of promotions. My commanding officer tried to get me to re-enlist, and I told him I wasn't doing that, no way. I wanted out. And he relayed to me how tough it was going to be in the outside world. And I had heard that McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis was hiring people for work on airplanes. So I went down, checked in with them, and got a job. I remember I had been in the Air Force and didn't hardly have any money. And I got hired. They was hiring most people for $1.50. And I got hired for $2.18 an hour. And went home and told Mother, we're in the big chips now. $2.18.
So how long did you work at McDonnell Douglas?
I think it was almost 40 years. It was a couple of years short, maybe of 40 years. Because after I retired, I worked under contract for them. They wanted me to. We was in the process of closing the plant in Tulsa. So I agreed that I'd work under contract for them. And then we got that taken care of, that plant in Tulsa. And then they called me in and said, we're going to close the Titusville missile plant. And they asked if I'd go down there. So I don't remember how long we was there, but we was there quite a while and living good on the beach. The space shuttle come in right over our place. Mother was there, I think.
You got us a pass to go out on the where the space shuttle take off, and then we were able to see it land right over us. It was just unbelievable to watch it on television coming in, and then to look up and see it coming in. It was quite an experience. They'd always shoot off a lot of different things there that we could see, and we really enjoyed watching them.
Grandma, I hear you had quite a few odd jobs as well, is that correct?
Well, I never did have a steady job where I got any retirement, but when Lisa graduated from high school and I quit being in the cafeteria, I decided I would just kind of stay at home because Marty was going on a lot of trips, and it was bad that I couldn't go with him when he had these trips out to California, So I quit the cafeteria and I'd fly out to California, be with him 2 or 3 weeks, and then fly home. And then my girlfriend had a son that needed a project picking up seeds is what we did. We'd go out and crawl on our hands and knees and pick up different seeds, and then we'd get this funny looking thing harness over us, and we'd strip the trees to get seeds that way. So I just did kind of odd jobs like that. When we were married, I didn't really try to work. I was just raising the family. My main job was coordinating the family, and always wanted to take vacations. We've had so many travel spots because, like, when the kids were young, we'd always take off. We had a station wagon and an old feather tick mattress, and we'd put that old feather tick mattress in the back of the station wagon so the kids could sleep while we drove. And it was easier to drive of a night so they wouldn't be getting after each other. We went to Florida numerous times with the kids, and we went on a cruise, and when we come off the cruise, we went to see our friends Ronnie and Joanne Hartley, and we were walking through Tin City, and there was a sign there, get a free fishing trip. So you had to listen to a talk about timeshare to get the fishing trip. And we listened to it, and we liked what we saw, so we bought a week of timeshare 1 week, and it's turned into a lifetime of happiness down there. We had ended up with 12 weeks at Marco Island. Jenna's only missed 2 times coming to Marco Island in all the years we went to Marco Island. And because we had the timeshare, we were able to go other places. We went to Hawaii and saw a lot of interesting things there. We went to Maine, and we went to on a lot of cruises. We've been to Alaska. I went to England with Dad on one of his trips, and that was very educational to see all the beautiful monuments that they have over there. And Dad, you want to talk about what you think of our vacations?
Oh, I enjoyed them all. We had some dandies. We had some in Carolinas, but they were all fun, and I guess partly because I was with a good crew that we had nice vacations. And Mrs. Green had it well organized and planned.
Do you remember when we went to camping with your brother Bill and Pat and all the kids?
Yeah, that was in Carolinas.
And there was a big whale that got beached on there, and the kids were so excited to go down and see the whale and how they managed to get it back in the water. We took the kids one time to Washington, D.C., and Bobby was just a little tyke, and we ate lunch at the Capitol and with Clarence Cannon, and then his wife Ida took us for a tour of the White House and the Capitol. And we sat in the same seats where the president's wives and dignitaries sit, and watched the Congress in session. And that was a real nice vacation. And then on our 60th wedding anniversary, we rented a house in Michigan, and the whole family were there at one time or another. They couldn't all be there for the whole week, but we had a beautiful house, and we went up and saw the sand dunes, and had a good week together. Another vacation we took was up to Mackinac Island, and saw the where Esther Williams had her famous swim. Sat on the porch there overlooking the swimming pool. We felt like we were really hot dogs. And we were with friends of ours that we had made in Marco Island, that he was a former FBI agent, and he has so many stories to tell us.
Secret Service.
Yeah.
That's what it
And
was.
he took Marty out fishing for salmon. They had a boat, and they're right on the Canadian border, so you had to have a Canadian license as well as a United States license to fish. But that was a wonderful vacation. Another wonderful vacation was when the kids went with us to the Dells, and you went to the old rock house, and we saw the ski show, and you kids were very content to just be with us.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time up at the river. Grandma, isn't that where you earned your nickname, Sarge?
I think so. I'd boss everybody around and tell them they'd have to eat something or they couldn't have another beer. I'd say, you either eat this hamburger or I'm cutting your beer off from you. But yeah, we built a clubhouse down on the river, and it was kind of going to be just for the weekends and that. But then we got to loving it so much, we decided we'd sell our house in town and just live on the river. Well, I have a lot of memories of going on trips with the grandkids and going out on the river with them. When you were just a baby, Jenna, Grandpa got you a little life jacket. And we had a blow-up boat, and we'd put you in that boat, and I had a string on it, and we'd go back and forth and get you to sleep, and then you'd be asleep, and we could go ahead and not have to mess with you sometimes. That was when you were a little baby. And Joey was a cute little kid, and rambunctious, and we had a lot of fun going to the river and on trips. We went to Florida. One of the nicest trips was when we went to Key West. Your dad and Mom rented a Cadillac and came down and saw us. We had a condominium, and we went down. We were at Key Largo, but we took a trip down to Key West and saw Truman's house down there, and went to the beach, and it was a fun trip. We've been up to Wisconsin to the Dells. We've been to many trips to Florida. And Marty, you want to chime in on the grandkids?
Just the main thing is how proud we were when that gal was born. We was very proud of our grandkids. Wished we had a lot more of them.
Grandpa, you always loved to hunt. Tell us about some of your fun times up at Seven Suckers Ranch.
Oh, Richard Green and I would go up there. And Richard Green's a fun guy to be around. And we'd have a lot of laughs out of stuff we'd do and screw up.
You want to tell them about your turkey hunt?
Oh, that was a pretty good thing. Richard and I had never turkey hunted, and we decided we was going to go turkey hunting. And you know, these guys that really get into turkey hunting, they dress with all kinds of camouflage stuff and put stuff all over their face so it doesn't show up. And the guys was asking me and Richard what we was going to wear. Yeah, we'd probably just wear what we got on. And where are you going to hunt? We're going to go get in a deer stand, sit in a deer stand. And one of the guys told Bobby, said, we didn't want to bust your dad's bubble, but he ain't gonna kill no turkey sitting in a deer stand. And Bobby said, well, they're big boys, they'll have to figure it out themselves. And we got in the deer stand at 6:30 that morning. The sun's coming up, and there's a turkey right out in front of me. So I shoot the turkey, and then we're laughing and having fun and talking about it. The turkey weighs 80 pounds. It's a huge turkey. Of course, it wasn't that big. But then we kept sitting there, and at 7 o'clock, Richard shot his turkey. So we were the champion turkey hunters out of a deer stand. Well, now all these guys are killing turkeys, but they go get in a stand and get their turkeys out with the stand. So we're known now as the guys that hunt out of a deer stand for turkeys. But it works for us.
Well, that's all that matters, right?
Right. Yeah, I took Joey. He never got too excited about hunting. But first time I took him, he shot a deer. So we went back one more time deer hunting, and I believe he got another deer. He's got 2 deer. So he got indoctrinated real quick on deer hunting.
Dad, do you want to say something about your cane?
This is just a family cane that had a lot of stories about it, but I ended up with it. Nobody knows for sure where this thing went, but it's I think they call the wood black ebony or something like that. but everybody thought this was a gold handle on it. Well, it wasn't gold. Nobody seems to know what kind of material it is. But anyway, I ended up with it. It's got my initials on it, M-A-G. That was my great-great-grandpa. Martin Austin Galden was his name. And so I got it because I got the same initials.
I just want the kids to remember us as somebody that loved them very much and will love their children to come, and hopefully soon.
50 years of blissful, fulfilling married life. On May 29, 1955, Marty and Muriel became man and wife. That joyful day seems so long ago, but through the years their love continues to grow. So young in years, so much to learn, sometimes obstacles around each turn. Together they shared the joy and the pain, bringing in the sun to chase away the rain. They've supported their children in every way, being there for them day after day. Grandkids came, and again they were there to spend time with them and the love they shared. They have traveled the world near and far, going by ship, plane, and car. The friends they've made cannot compare. These lifelong friendships are very rare. Their life together has been as a team, such a partnership of which we could only dream. The vows they gave were so very true when they took each other's hearts and said, "I do."
That poem right there says a lot about Muriel. She is so well organized, so loving. She's just, it didn't take me very long to figure out that I sure picked the right one. And I don't know where I'd ever find another one like her. But she's put up with me all these years, and we've had a beautiful life all these years. But we've had our ups and downs too. But for the most part, everything has worked out pretty good. And we're very happy with my spouse. And I love her very much.